Again, a little bit, but I thought this was just, again, just sort of a great, but I feel like I'm maybe hitting a little bit of a groove. Such a bad job. Such a bad job trying to describe this book. Hi everybody, it's Audrey and welcome back to Chapter and Converse. Today's video is going to be another book recommendation video, and I had a bunch of requests about thrillers that weren't like gory, hardcore, violent kind of thrillers, which I totally get because I am someone who doesn't always seek out something that's particularly violent, but I also sometimes have a threshold for something. So I do like to push myself sometimes, and I don't always shy away from going there, but I don't necessarily like seek out something that's like particularly gory, if that makes sense. I think you can do a really good mystery without having gratuitous violence to it, and I think even like with anything, like with TV shows, with movies, with books, I think if it serves the story, I'm okay with it. If it's there for some sort of like unnecessary shock value, I don't really need it in my books. So sometimes it serves the story and I'm okay with it. But I also understand that not everybody here is looking for violence on the page, either played out or talked about. So I pulled together a bunch of books that I think are still very strong mysteries, thrillers without being graphic in any kind of a way. And I wanted to talk about them, obviously. The first book I want to talk about is one that I just finished reading, and it is The Better Sister by Alifair Burke. So you have these two sisters, Chloe and Nikki, and Nikki married this guy, Adam. They had a baby, and about 2 years into their marriage, he winds up leaving and getting sole custody of their child. And he moves to New York, where Chloe happens to live. And him and Chloe strike up a friendship, and she's the aunt, and she's there to help with her nephew, and a love blossoms, and Chloe and Adam wind up getting married. And we fast forward, like I want to say another 14 years, and Adam is murdered. So Chloe comes home to their East Hampton home, or Sag Harbor home, or wherever, Hampton's home, and she finds her husband murdered. And her nephew slash stepson, Ethan, was out at a friend's place that night, and kind of all hell breaks loose. And her sister, who is Ethan's mom, winds up getting called in, and this is sort of one part police investigation and courtroom element, and then one part sort of family drama, suspense, the relationship between the sisters. And the violence is not played out on the page. You get sort of like one quick, this is how he died kind of a situation, but it becomes much more of sort of a mystery investigation of what's going on. So I really enjoyed the sister relationship. I enjoyed the dynamic between them, kind of who done it, how done it, why done it type of a thing. There is police investigation to this. There is courtroom to this, which I love. So a little bit of legal thriller to it. And I just think it was really well done. I'm a huge fan of Alifair Burke. She has a ton of standalone books, this obviously being one of them. She does have a character, Olivia Randall, who is the defense attorney, and she makes cameos in a lot of books, and she is in this. So you don't need to read the other books to understand Olivia, but I love that in the last, I want to say 3 or 4 books Alifair Burke has done, Olivia makes some sort of an appearance, but she is like she's a pretty significant character in this book, I would say. But really well done, and again, mystery without being graphic. So when I did my April 2020 most anticipated releases, I talked about a book by Kate White, and I had mentioned that she is an author I never talk about, so I'm talking about her. And this is the first book in her series with a sort of amateur sleuth crime writer, Bailey Wiggins. And this is called If Looks Can Kill, as you can see. And Kate White used to be the editor-in-chief of Cosmo magazine. So it's described by Lisa Scottolini as Sex and the City meets the murder mystery. And Bailey is kind of an amateur sleuth, like I said, and she works for this woman's magazine, which is obviously based on Cosmo, and there's like a sassy, beautiful editor-in-chief named Kat, who clearly is Kate White. And in this book, Kat's live-in nanny has been murdered in their house. and she calls Bailey for help because Kat thinks that she was the target of the murder. So she wants her friend helping to figure out what's going on. As much as she's got the cops on the case, she needs someone inside making sure that this is getting taken care of and who's going to figure out what the heck happened. So Bailey kind of gets pulled into this mystery, and it is fashion world, it is Upper East Side Manhattan world. There definitely is like some brand dropping, name dropping kind of stuff. Sex and the City murder mystery is the perfect way to describe it. This book came out, I think, like in 2002. So it's definitely like of a different time. Yeah, 2002. But it's like I said, it's like a woman's fiction mystery. So it's a lighter, easier read to me. And I say that with all respect because I thoroughly enjoyed it. Sometimes I don't want completely heavy stuff. And I've read this book multiple times. I have read all the books in this series. I am a fan of Bailey. I think she's a good character. She's fun to read. There's a bit of romance to this too. Bailey's got a little bit of baggage, but nothing like crazy heavy kind of stuff, because again, it's a little bit of a lighter mystery book. But I thought it was a well done book. When I started writing, I was writing sort of these Sex and the City murder mystery is kind of how I started with things. So I get it. I love it. Continue to turn to these books. I have not unhauled any of them. I have the whole series on my shelf behind me for a reason. So I think this is a great way to dip your toe into some great mystery without being kind of dipping your toe into graphic stuff. The next book I have is The Wife Between Us by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. And this is the first book with this writing duo, which I just loved. I didn't see the twist coming. I completely fell for it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was smart. I thought it was well written. I liked the writing. I liked the characters of it all. This is one of those books where I feel like I could give something away by trying to talk about it. So I'm just going to read the little blurb on the inside, which is, when you read this book, you will make many assumptions. You will assume you're reading about a jealous ex-wife. You will assume she's obsessed with her replacement, a beautiful younger woman who's about to marry the man they both love. You will assume you know the anatomy of this tangled love triangle. Assume nothing. Twisted and deliciously chilling, The Wife Between Us deftly explores the hidden complexities of marriage and the dangerous truths we ignore in the name of love. Read between the lines. I thought it was clever. I thought it was well done. This is just one of those books that go into it a little bit blind. Also psychological suspense. A little bit of mystery of trying to figure out what's going on in it. But I think this is stronger than An Anonymous Girl, which was their second book. I haven't read their newest book yet, which just came out. I thought this was just a really smart idea, a really smart twist on things, and just go for it. Just take it for what it is, go on in, and just enjoy the ride. The next book I have is Sherry LaPena's Someone We Know. And this is her latest book, which I read a few months back. And this to me was like Desperate Housewives in the sense that we have like this small neighborhood and a whole bunch of people with secrets and lies and a tight community and everybody knows everybody, but we don't really know anybody at all type of a vibe. But without the comedy of Desperate Housewives. But this is about a woman named Olivia, and her teenage son has been breaking into people's houses and hacking their computers and just sort of like snooping around. And she feels completely guilty about this, and she winds up writing an anonymous letter to the houses of people that he broke into to say like, hey, super sorry, but my kid broke into your house. I just thought you should know. And then we find out that one of the women on the street has been murdered, and now this letter that Olivia has sent is causing all sorts of issues. So who's dead? Who killed her? Does the kid have anything to do with it? All sorts of secrets are coming out on the street. And I thought it was really well done. This was a quick read. I thought it was a good mystery. I thought there were some good twists and turns to this. I, again, loved kind of that Desperate Housewives feel of things. I loved sort of the lengths you will go to for your children, the lengths you will go to for your family to protect your secrets and to protect your family. I thought was really well done. I'm a fan of her writing. I have all 4 of her books. I've only read 2 of them, but I am happy to dig into the other two. It's just a matter of time. There's no reason why I haven't. But I think this is also a great book that you can pick up for some good psychological suspense, some domestic suspense, and a lot of questioning the people around you and kind of how well do you know your neighbors? Probably not as well as you think you do. The next book, which also has a complete neighborhood suburban feel, which I don't think I've heard anybody talk about, which is probably because it came out 100 years ago, and that is Goodnight Nobody by Jennifer Weiner. And this is also sort of like women's fiction mystery, and we've got this woman named Kate. So it says Kate is a semi-accidental mother of 3, and suburbia has been full of unpleasant surprises. So she winds up moving to Connecticut with her husband. She is a stay-at-home mom. She's a little bit kind of lost, like feels like she doesn't quite know her identity. She just can't quite fit in right. She doesn't really know who she is as a mom in this neighborhood with these people. Her husband's never around, and one of her neighbors winds up getting murdered. So to sort of like pass the time, she basically like investigates this murder for like the 3 hours a day her kids are like in pre-K and stuff like that. Yeah, she launches an unofficial investigation from 8:45 to 11:30 on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays when her kids are in nursery school. So this book definitely has some good humor to it. This is, you know, Kate kind of winds up a little bit in over her head and starts to uncover all sorts of secrets about her neighbors and things going on around them and about the woman who was murdered, and puts herself in a little bit of danger. But I thought this book was just brilliant. I kind of like forget how funny and how smart she is as a writer sometimes. But again, this is a book where there is some levity to it. It's not graphic in any kind of way, which is the whole point of this video. I need to stop saying it. But it's a good mystery. I feel like it's relatable. I feel like anyone who sort of has been in that place where you're not quite sure what your life has become, whether or not you have kids or not. I think a lot of us of a certain age have sort of reached a point in our lives where we're kind of like, how did I get here? And how is this my life? Because I never thought this is where I was going to be. And sort of her yearning for something that makes her feel connected and like she's doing something actively in her life, which is why she goes into this murder investigation. But again, I highly recommend it. I think it's really well done. Kind of pulling this one back out again makes me want to read it again, but this one was definitely a fun, easy read, and just, I don't think you can go wrong here either. I did want to mention another Kate White book, which is a standalone, and this one's called The Sixes. And this is about a secret society of girls, known as the Sixes, on a college campus. And a body of a girl kind of washes up in the river, and obviously it sparks an investigation. But in this book, we follow Phoebe Hall. And Phoebe she used to be in Manhattan. She's got a lot of scandal. So she winds up taking this teaching position at a school in Pennsylvania, thanks to a friend of hers. And when this body kind of washes up in the river, it sort of brings up all these allegations and questions and the ties to the school. And Phoebe just sort of gets pulled into investigating because she can't help herself. So another sort of amateur detective-ish type of thing. But also, she kind of like turns over some of the wrong rocks and obviously angers the wrong people. So she kind of becomes a target herself. So it becomes sort of a case of trying to solve the mystery, but also trying to keep herself out of danger. So as much as I love a prep school, throw me on a college campus, give me a little secret society type of stuff. There is a little bit of romance to this book also. Again, kind of in the vein of like women's fiction mystery. I enjoyed it. Again, I like Kate White's writing. I find it very easy to digest. It is not the most complex mystery I've ever read in my entire life, but it is certainly an enjoyable one. And to me, that is just as important. Any book where I'm having a good time reading it and I'm feeling satisfied by the end is a book worth recommending for me. So here I am recommending The Sixes by Kate White. And finally, a book that I read back in January, which I talked about ad nauseum in my January review, is The Escape Room by Megan Golden. And this to me is just smart, clever, messed up people doing messed up things, but not graphically on the screen. So it's more psychological than it is sort of physical, messed up things going on here. And we have a bunch of Wall Streeters uber competitive, cutthroat, makes you never want to work on Wall Street people who are beckoned to this sort of construction site to do this team building thing, this escape room, and they all get in this elevator and they are all just such driven, insanely competitive people that none of them will say no to doing this. And they get in this elevator and it's basically like, welcome to the escape room. The only mission you have is to get out alive. And dang, do they have some stuff to go through to get out of this escape room. And this is shown in multiple timelines. So we have the folks in the elevator in the present day, and then we flash back a couple of years to the perspective of a colleague they worked with, this woman named Sarah. And it's when Sarah first joins the firm and meets all of these people. So we start to get some perspective on who these people are. And we go back and forth and try and understand just sort of who they are, how they went up in the elevator in the first place, and what things they did that sort of made them into the people they are today, if you will. But this is such an interesting exploration of Wall Street, for what it's worth. And I just thought it was so well done. I'm sorry, this is like the window's hitting it. I'm not complaining that it's a sunny day, but the window's hitting this in all sorts of ways. But I thought this was just smart, tightly written, well written, good twists. There were parts I had sort of pseudo figured out. There were parts I had no idea what was happening. I didn't quite know where it was going to go. There's some really interesting characters. There's some great, well-developed characters. There is one character I'm still annoyed with till this day, but what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? But I am a huge fan of Megan Golden. She has a new book coming out, I think in August, which I'm just, I can't believe we have to wait that long. But I am 100% a fan of hers. She's definitely become an auto buy for me. This was her debut and it is absolutely worth picking up. There is, I would say, sort of psychological ugliness on the page here. And it's just, these people are twisted and it's a twisted kind of a book. But it is so well done, like magnificently done. So that's gonna do it for this round of recommendations. So hopefully a little bit of variety, a little psychological thriller, a little women's fiction murder mystery. There's so many books out there and I am guilty as all get out of being in like a certain mode and like only talking about certain authors or certain books. So this is actually fun to be able to pull some stuff off the shelf and revisit some books that I read a long time ago, and kind of makes me want to reread some of these books too, because they are kind of like a warm fuzzy blanket that makes me all comfy inside, like watching Murder, She Wrote does for me. But let me know if you guys have read any of these books, thoughts on them, if there's other books that you guys can recommend to one another and to me that are still great mystery thrillers without necessarily being gory graphic thrillers, because I would love to know. Because I think sometimes that's just what we all want. Thank you guys for hanging out today and spending some of your day with me. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. If there are other kind of recommendation videos of a specific type of thriller or a specific type of book you want me to try and dig into, let me know. I'm happy to give that a go as well. I just love any excuse to talk about books. You guys know that. So thanks for watching. If you're new here and you haven't already subscribed, definitely hit that subscribe button because it helps me and I think it's super cool and I really appreciate it. So I hope you guys are doing well. Sending all loves, hugs, best wishes to you, friends, family, and everyone. And I will see you guys really soon in the next video. Bye, everybody.